I'm going to start with Riley Leonard for a second because we've heard little reports that things seem to be going well. He was at that Manning camp. Are you past the point of being worried about his health?
Well, I think you still have to be a little bit worried because there's a precedent there, right there. And you go back to that 2023 season, and really ever since that Notre Dame game, he was not right. And it wasn't just the ankle injury that he suffered against Notre Dame, which if you watch that game, I think you're sitting there thinking, how the heck is this guy going to play any football the rest of the year? He does come back and play. I think it was a couple of games. There was the Louisville game, there was the Florida State game, but he nicked up his lower body in both of those games too. I think there was a toe injury, maybe a separate foot injury. There was a lot going on with Riley Leonard last year. And then Darren, he gets on campus at Notre Dame in January, and then all of a sudden we're talking about that ankle again. And Notre Dame's trainer said, hey, you probably should have had surgery on this last fall. Of course, he's a warrior. He gutted it out. He played a couple games, like I said, when probably shouldn't have, but that's who Riley Leonard is. So am I worried about those past injuries? Probably not. It seems like that ankle that we talk so much about because of the hit that Howard Cross put on him is not a big deal anymore. But when you have the ankle and you have the turf toe, and I think there was one other in there. I mean, everything comes in threes is what they say, right? It looks like Riley Leonard got hit by the injury bug in threes, but there certainly is precedent there. So that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about, hey, is he going to run out there and suffer something new, whether it be a knee or, he gets hit in the shin or whatever it is. So is the ankle fine? Yeah, it looks like it. Went to the Manning Passing Academy and told everyone there that he's healthy. Blue and Gold was lucky enough to do a one-on-one interview with Riley Leonard in, I guess that was early June, I believe. It was right when the players got back to campus. And he came, skipping up the stairs, and he looked chipper and whatnot, said he played some golf down in his native Alabama earlier this summer. So I'm not worried about Riley Leonard right now. I'm worried about what could happen, especially if he's running, I don't know, Darren, maybe 100 carries he might get this year for Notre Dame. He's going to put himself in harm's way, and you just got to kind of cross your fingers at that point because some of that is out of his control.
With the health hopefully being in the rearview mirror this summer, now it's all about building that chemistry with the wide receiver group. And it seems like there have been ample opportunities to get the wide receivers and Riley together and able to start building some of that chemistry as we head toward fall camp.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about a football season is, and I think about this all the time, not just with the chemistry with quarterbacks, but just the way that a calendar operates. You've got 3 to 4 months to pour everything in terms of game action, but the rest of that time, you can kind of give yourself opportunities to, like right now in South Bend, Indiana, they're throwing the ball around a little bit, doing some player-led stuff. And then there's what coaches will tell you are like mini OTAs where they're out there in shorts and kind of getting a little bit of guidance and direction and whatnot. All of that is so valuable. And the cool part about it, Darren, is spring ball feels like an eternity ago at this point. And the fact that Riley Leonard missed it all, yeah, it kind of sucked in the moment and it hurt in the moment. But right now he's getting so much valuable experience with these guys, FaceTime. They're seeing how the ball comes out of his hand, all of those different types of things. And it does make it seem like spring ball is, minuscule at this point. Will he tell you, and will the coaches tell you, and the wide receivers tell you, man, I wish Riley Leonard was out there during that time in March and April? Absolutely. But he's out there with them right now. And then come fall camp is all that matters, Darren. Spring ball will not have mattered at that point. So if he's healthy enough to go through the month, like you said, we're 30 days out right now, July 31st to August 31st, that's going to be the most important month of Riley Leonard's year, going into those 3 months that I talked about where it's all football all the time. You got to try to win 12 games. So at that point, nobody's thinking about March and April and however long he was out.
We are never going to diminish the importance of spring practice, but it's really interesting to think Riley Leonard was missing time on the practice field without Mitchell Evans. He didn't have the opportunity. Bo Collins wasn't out there at wide receiver. And all the tinkering that goes on during spring practice. The offensive line, I'm sure, looked a little different every day. So Riley Leonard is going to get his real first feel of all the components of this offense once we get fall camp underway.
Yeah, and you got to realize that the freshman Cam Williams went out for a little bit of time. I think Jaden Thomas was still a little banged up. Deion Colsey has always been banged up, and they've been limiting him because of that. So, yeah, if he would have been in there, maybe he wouldn't have been throwing to all the guys that he's going to end up throwing to this fall. So I do think there's a little bit of an element of like, hey, if there was a spring to miss, it probably was that one, being that he's a 21 game starter. All of these guys are not in the lineup. Like, put it this way. I agree with you. You never want to diminish spring ball, because I just talked about how there's segments of a calendar in the football year, and this one is important for this reason. And right now we're in the summer, and it's important because maybe you didn't get to practice in the spring. So there's all of these different sectors and segments. He missed one of the most important ones. That is the truth. But Darren, the most important one for him and for Notre Dame and really every other team in the country is coming up in a month. It's fall camp. And if you can just pour every ounce of what you've got into those 30 days, like you can be a much better football team come August 31st than you are on July 30th, just by what you do in those 30 days. So sure, you miss 30 important ones or whatever it is in the spring, but man, the 30 that's coming up here in a month, just do what you got to do during those. And I think you can get some confidence. You go into Texas A&M feeling, okay, I like where Riley Leonard's at as opposed to where he was in mid-July. So I think that's the way that Notre Dame's going to be treating the 30 days that are coming up there in July, in August, leading into August 31st.